All right, so now it's about 8 hours later, but that's just because I was busy and just let it sit for a while. So what I want to do next is just flip this over and go around this part that I put the glue and just loosen it so I can get into it. So I'm going to be flipping this over, so this will be the bottom and this will be the top down here. Alright, so here is what we have inside, and normally this would be completely clay, but I was running out of clay, so I had to take from underneath, and so I used that to fill it up. So, let's see, it might have pushed this guy down a little bit far. So I have that to contend with. And now I'm just going to be pulling out all this clay very carefully, not disturbing my figurine, because I'm going to be putting silicone on this side now. And this is from a leak. It got past the clay where I had that wax, so definitely need to have more clay around. But it's a cool rubber. Look at that, nice and stretchy. It's really hard as far as like sturdy feeling, but yet super flexible. Now I want to also take out these little balls, because that way the silicone that I pour on top can go into each of them. I'll make a little key that will fit into each of these holes. So I just had to push everything down a bit so there'd be enough room for a mold to fit here. And the main thing is that you just don't want to disturb the figurine from the mold already. Like, you don't want to pull it out and put it back in, because chances are it won't go in correctly. So you just leave it in there. So I just pushed on the whole thing, so I got it to go down about an inch or so. And then now I'm going to need to re-glue this really well, again underneath. And then we'll be able to load it up with the other half of the silicone. And this time I'm adding in a little bit of wax. It's kind of like cheese wax. And these are going to be little vents, well, a vent and a porthole. So the resin can go in here, and as it goes in, the air will come out this other side. So now I'm going to spray it with the mold release, and then I'll be pouring in more silicone like I did before. Now I'm going to mix it again. This kind is basically like your silicone base, and then there's a catalyst that you add to it. So it turns this base into something hard instead of liquid. My voice sounds kind of funny because I even have a ventilation mask on, just because, you know, you're working with chemicals and you want to be safe. If you have a vacuum chamber, this is when you'd want to use that and get rid of the bubbles, but this is a pretty good silicone, and I haven't really noticed much of an issue with bubbles. Alright, so hopefully this is going to be enough. When you pour, you want to go for the lowest side of the mold and pour kind of high so you've got a thin stream. And then just kind of let it all seep around from there. This high pour method helps there not be as many bubbles. See how the rest just kind of slowly oozes? Covers up the whole figurine. Now we wait another 4 hours at least. Alright, it's the next day and it's time to unmold this baby. So I'm just going to cut right through. There we go. Once you get a side open, then it comes off pretty easily. Just gotta kind of give it some pressure. And it's okay if your box gets destroyed in the process, because it's kind of a one-time project. Okay. Boom. We did it. Alright, let's see how he is. Okay, that's not good. I ended up just cutting through on the side, and then I actually finally got it to start breaking apart at the right place. And I was off just a little bit where I was cutting it, but I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't enough mold release. But anyway, we'll be able to get to it, and it's gonna work out. Just usually you're supposed to be able to just pull it right off at this point. So I will have to do some experimenting with that mold release and see what the deal is. So here it is, and he did break a leg in the process, so that's kind of sad, but I can repair that. And this is what we want, this mold right here. So what I'm gonna do is put them together, make sure all those little keys are lining up right, and then I'm gonna put several rubber bands around it, and then I will be setting it upright like this and pouring resin in the holes that I have here. I've got the 2 vent holes, one's a pour hole, the other one's a vent hole. So I'm gonna need to make sure with my little knife that I've got a nice clean pour place. I'll have to make those bigger, but then I'll try it out with resin and let you know how it goes. All right, so I am just kind of eyeballing it as far as this amount. We'll see. 1, 2, 3. Add the colorant to the part B, which is basically the resin. And then we'll add the catalyst to it. And then you stir gently to mix in the flesh coloring and try to avoid bubbles. You have plenty of time before the resin is mixed together, but once it is mixed together, then you have about a minute to work with it before it's going to start turning into syrup and then hardening. I've got a separate cup. Okay, there we go. Okay, well that was oodles of resin. I had this in my cup afterwards. I was pouring it out and it hardened up. I thought that was funny. Anyway, I'm gonna quickly pop out this ear. Turned out pretty good, and a little bit of a bubble. They always work out so much better when you use a pressure pot, because then it forces the bubbles to be super tiny. But right now I'm just doing test casting, just to see if we've got a workable mold. Okay. Dun dun dun. Ooh. So we've got a bit of flashing, and that is what you call this extra stuff that's on the side, the places that the resin leaked out. Okay, let's see how that looks. Oh good, it looks awesome. Got some air bubbles going on, so definitely will need to be pressure cast, but yay, it looks good. So now I'll go through with a razor blade and just kind of cut away this stuff. Then it can be sanded if necessary. Have to work on that flesh color, but yay! We're so happy it worked. It's a good mold.